Let's do it. Okay. All right. What do we guys think about Joe Biden? It's over. It's done. Joe Biden has like 3 days left in office. He's going on this embarrassing tour where, you know, the house of cards is falling down on in every direction, and he looks befuddled and weird. He referred to Hamas as Hezbollah in his speech about the ceasefire. So we'll go to you first, Rio. What do you think? How will history remember Joe Biden? Yeah.
Listen, I'll tell. I have a very decisive answer for this. I
All right.
think that Joe Biden's presidency was the end of the illusion of American righteousness. I think that American righteousness did survive past George Bush. Honestly, I mean, the rest of the world deconstructed it, but like we didn't, you know. But like now, nobody thinks that the government is incentivized by some sort of moral leadership. Nobody thinks there's some at the like people hope that at the end of the day, somebody up there in a leadership position is like driving the ship with some morality. That is dead. That is dead. I think the illusion fell. And I think that people saw that when it comes to international geopolitics, morality does not factor in. And we've been bringing up morality a lot this episode, but like, yeah, in my mind, the whole veneer of American exceptionalism, American righteousness, colonialism with Israel, that is just dead. That's what I think that he did. That's how I think history will remember him. What do you
Do
guys
you
think?
think he could have prevented that collapse, or was it inevitable? And during his administration, at least.
Dude, it really I'll be honest, his administration is defined by Gaza. It really is. Like that's really the truth of it. And we're all the countries are kids on a playground, and I see Joe Biden as Joe Biden's the biggest bully. He has the biggest weapons. America is the world superpower, and everyone's playing on the playground. And one of the kids that's protected by the bully, that's Israel, starts beating up his little brother that he always brings to school. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone crowds around, and they just watch Israel just beat the brother. And it's so bad that the jaw's broken. It's horrible. No one can step in because this huge bully, America, is standing over Israel while it does this. So for all kids on a playground, Joe Biden's the big bully, or I should say, the big tough guy that's strong enough to stop it. He doesn't. He just stands there watching
Mm-hmm.
because there's this alliance between them. And I really think that Joe Biden, you guys might not agree with this, that's okay. I think that through his 40-year career, I think that he was basically like he became acclimated to following APAC around. It was simply the
Mm-hmm.
way things are done. And when shit hit the fan and he really needed to pull away from APAC, he didn't know how. He wasn't even conscious of dissent. Like he didn't even make any attempts to dissent from what APAC was doing or what Israel was doing. So I think he's just going to be remembered for that. Just a complete lack of morals and courage. And yeah, does that make sense?
No.
It makes sense. However, where I will disagree is like everything you said was like right, but history isn't about what actually happened, right?
True, true.
So like I think you have to look at it from a couple of different angles. There's his legacy from our perspective, from the people on the left who kind of understand what you just said. And I agree with that. For us, Gaza is going to be the biggest thing. In my mind, when I'm 80 years old and I'm thinking back to my 20s and Joe Biden as president, Gaza is going to be the thing that I remember the most. And
Yeah.
for a lot of people in our generation, it will be that way because this was an awakening. And I do think that you are right, but you are early on the fall of the idea of American righteousness because most Americans still believe America's the good guy. Like as much as this is, I don't think this is the end of that. I think it's the start. And obviously, a lot of people have always said America's the bad guy, but like it was mostly just, weirdly online people on the left and the right. It wasn't your normies. What we're seeing, at least at my generation's level, is an awakening consciousness of that. And Gaza is the Trojan horse that has enabled a lot of developing class consciousness, a lot of developing understanding that, hey, America isn't the good guy. America is often the bad guy. And that is becoming much more of a central thesis of the American experience. But it's still not there yet. I mean, and I know this because of how many fucking people defend Joe Biden for all the things that he's done. Democrats, right? The Republicans don't expect Donald Trump to be a moral actor. They don't. But they do still believe America is the best because in their mind, might equals right. So they don't necessarily view it as morally wrong, but they don't expect their fucking leaders to be driven by morals. And on the Democrat side of things, we do. And I think that's actually what cooks Joseph Robinette Biden, is that I do think in his mind, he's a good guy. I think Joe Biden believes in his heart of hearts that he is a public servant, that he's there for the little guy, that he's trying to help people out, while also being deeply entrenched in the American state, which is the bad guy. And I think that if you look at his presidency that way, it does begin to make a little bit more sense. It explains why he pulled out of Afghanistan. You know, for all of the bad things I can say about Joseph Biden, and I will remember for the rest of my life and never forgive him for, he pulled out of fucking Afghanistan. He fucking did that shit.
He did it
at great personal expense. It hurt him badly. One could argue he never recovered from it. And it was the right thing to do. And he fucking did it.
Yeah.
And that is a good thing.
Yeah.
He did a lot of really good domestic infrastructure investment. He did.
There are
a
good
lot
things
of
that he did.
His
did a lot of good
LBR
things.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the people who care about that shit won't remember it because of Gaza.
Yeah.
And they won't remember it also because of his incredibly ineffectual leadership at a time where America fucking needed it. When I thought about Obama's legacy, when I was sitting here like at the end of Obama's presidency, you know, at that time in my life, I was wrong about a lot of fucking things. But one thing I was not wrong about is that Obama's the luckiest motherfucker ever that Donald Trump became president. Because history will remember Obama for all of the good things, and they will blame all of the bad things on Donald Trump after him. And I think Biden is going to be the exact opposite of that. All of the good things, or okay, not all, but a lot of the good things are going to just be subsumed into Trump. And all of the bad things that Trump ends up doing now is going to be blamed on Joe Biden. And it's exactly right. I'm going to read for you guys a tweet. And the tweet goes, if Democrats nominate Joe Biden, he may win. And we'll have 4 years of weak, feckless Democratic leadership. And then in 4 years, he'll be defeated by a Republican Party, even more openly white nationalists. If you nominate an Obama redux, you'll get a worse Trump redux. That was from the Gravel Institute on April 28th, 2019. And I think I saw that today, and I cannot imagine a better summation, like a more accurate fucking summation before it happened of exactly how Biden went. And that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to be remembered as the guy who fucked up Gaza and who let Donald Trump be president again. That's his legacy. There's not going to be good things, even though he did do a lot of good things. They're going to be overshadowed by those two things.
One, I think it is too bad that Mike Gravel didn't live to see this, that he was exactly right with what was going to happen with Biden. And second, I want to point out, Heather commenting here, the right will never, so this is what Rio said about people realizing that America, you know, the goodness is going away. But she says the right will never take that away, though. My family thinks that righteousness has finally prevailed and God is smiling on America. Yeah, the Christian nationalists and everything, that plays into Biden's legacy too. I think Biden is going to be remembered as a colossal failure as a president. It didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to be. Like there was a moment when he could have been transcended, but Biden, I think Biden reminds me a lot of Carter in a lot of ways. In that, like Carter, you could say Carter did good, you know, had some good policy ideas or whatever, and you know, as a manager, he did a decent enough job. But being the president is not about being a manager. You are a leader. You need to be a leader. Biden never screamed. And then again, like that's the Democrats' fault. And for voting him into the primary. Like that's what happened. It's, you see these videos of Biden in 2016 and 2019 and 2018, different fucking dude. I mean, he aged rapidly when he got in office, and like he could put sentences together. He could be clever and funny, and he did it just way too late. And so what happened is that he's like, oh, well, I like leaving Afghanistan. That was a good idea. His labor stuff, he did a lot of infrastructure. But when he had his FDR moment, well, now it's time to lead. Now it's time to galvanize and inspire and motivate the nation. He didn't have it in him. It wasn't there. No one was lining up to fall. Say what you want about Donald Trump. People would crawl over broken glass to vote for Donald Trump. People begrudgingly voted for Biden 2 straight elections. He did nothing to change that after his first election. Nothing at all. Then when his big moment came with Gaza, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to sit back and let this happen. Just going to go. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, if you ever look at those lists of the worst presidents, you will see near the bottom a bunch of names you don't recognize. You'll see Chester A. Arthur. You'll see like you'll see James Buchanan. You'll see James K. Polk, not Arthur, but Polk and Buchanan, folks like that. Like, you never learned about these presidents, and the reason they're listed as bad is because the Civil War was brewing for like 20 years. It was gonna happen, and everybody knew it. And they sat around and didn't do anything. They didn't do anything at all. They were one-term presidents, turned over the next guy who also didn't do anything. Like, he's going to be blamed for, not only allowing Trump to come back a second time in humiliating fashion, but also coming to, like what Rio said, not only eventually the death of the United States as the, moral leader of the world, but like I mentioned earlier, the death of liberalism. It's done. It's over. I like liberalism as a sustaining movement that people get behind. I don't know how it recovers from this. I really don't. I'm not saying that a liberal Democratic president can't win again. Like, there's 2 choices. One of them is going to be a liberal Democrat next time. But the movement has not done itself any favors. The younger generation on the right and the left is like, this is feckless and useless. This doesn't help us at all. Like, everyone sat around patting each other on the back because we defeated Trump in 2020, only to let him come back and do it again. It would have been better if Trump won in 2020. It would have been. Like, we would be better off if Trump just did 8 straight years. Then they'll have him win, have 4 years of Trump just hovering over us in the background, showing that our institutions are unable to stop him, that, they weren't going to throw him in jail. They weren't going to actually take any action after January 6th. January 6th happened. People still voted for him. No one thinks better of the nation now. Even Republicans, like, no one thinks better of the nation now after Biden's 4 years. And so that's what I think is going to happen. Like, he failed on the most important moments that could define his presidency, and that's how he's going to be remembered for it.
I don't think anything can encapsulate that better than, and I'm lumping the Harris campaign into this because it was an extension of Biden's campaign and presidency, but calling Donald Trump an existential threat to democracy. In his farewell address, saying that we are in danger of oligarchs taking over the country. And having not had the urgency, while being the most powerful man in the world, to do fuck all about it. Mm-hmm. I think that encapsulates the problem that we have, and that even if Americans don't understand it, the problem they have with Joe Biden is that he says things are important and then acts as if they are not. Because to his credit, I don't know, he's been doing this for, gosh damn 60 years, and everything's kind of all just worked out for America.
Yeah.
And if that's your experience, it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to rock the boat at all. I'm going to be very I'm going to be risk averse, and I'm going to just kind of do the general okay-ish thing and just keep the ship moving forward. And what he doesn't understand, and what I don't think a lot of Democrats understand, a lot of Americans in general understand, is that the time for that is over. We are no longer so far in the lead that we can afford to just make sure it keeps pushing forward. We have to be aggressive. And if you say that things are important, you need to have your actions back that up. And he sometimes did, but never in the ways that actually will end up mattering to his legacy.
Yep.
What do you guys think about, TJ, what do you think is coming in the future after liberalism?
Well, you know how they say it's either socialism or barbarism. Like those are the two options for the end of the world. I got to say, if I had to bet, I bet barbarism. Like I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. I think that eventually it will, but I think the near future is going to be very bad. I do. I think
Really?
that. Yeah, I do. Because I mean, obviously with the Trump presidency, a lot of stuff's going to go bad. But no one is going to learn the right lesson here. That I guarantee you, in 2028. We're gonna have a gap. Well, maybe not gap news after the fires, but another standard Democrat. They're not gonna elect so like Bernie Sanders. He'll be too old, but anyone like him. Plus, I know it's 4 years early, but who the fuck would it be? Like who is the leader like of the Democratic Party right now? Who are even the contenders? I think that like the people, galvanizing and working together around something is a long way off. I saw a great post saying this that. Karl Marx wrote about communism and how communism is obviously going to happen eventually because how poor people are suffering all over the place. But Karl Marx could have never predicted that one day poor people would be able to buy ice cream. Like, and it's true. Like that item that was an absolute luxury for people, like unimaginable that a poor person could have ice cream 200 years ago. Now you can. Not only can poor people have ice cream, but you can watch any movie you want. You can listen to any song that you want. You can distract yourself from your miseration quite easily. And until it gets bad enough that that's not going to matter, people aren't going to unite around like of some kind of dictatorship of the proletariat. It can happen, but I think that's a long way off. So things are going to get worse and worse and worse until that happens. Like I'm not an accelerationist. That's just my prediction. Like, what do you think, John?
So I'm going to give the hopeful outlook here. In that, yeah, it's going to be bad for the next 4 years. My saving grace to that is if we had just like rolled the dice here, and I would say most times, I agree with TJ. It's going to have to get really fucking bad because we just elected the fascists in the time of this great change. The issue with that is the fascists are led by a fucking moron, and not the normal type of fascist moron, like because every fascist is a moron on some
That's right.
level. But
Yeah.
like Hitler was no fucking genius, as much as people want to say that he fucking was. He was also an idiot. But Donald Trump is an incompetent moron in every fucking way, except the ways that matter for him winning the election and him continue. He's a branding genius, but he's not a fucking government genius. So he doesn't have the chops to successfully completely destroy our institutions, and the people surrounding him that do, luckily for us, his ego is too big to really penetrate all that much, so he's easily fucking distracted. And so while it could get really bad, I don't think it's going to get really bad, but I do stand by what I said earlier in that class consciousness is exploding in America.
It's gonna grow. Like the class consciousness is that's the one like good. I have a sense that good things are coming. I mean, call me, I don't know, an idealist or whatever, but I have a sense that good things are coming, and I really do believe that the class consciousness thing is gonna grow. I think that's coming, and that's gonna change things. I think
because Rio, I just want to add on to that the thing that I was saying about how the Democrats always lie and people are just fucking sick of it, that will catch up to the Republicans. The people who are against the Democrats because they're like, these guys are liars and I don't trust them, eventually the bill is going to come due for the Republicans and they ain't going to be able to fucking pay it. And those people are going to be looking for another answer. And there's going to be a base of people with class consciousness ready to fucking educate them. And that's when it fucking happens.
You guys are forgetting that aliens are coming in 2026. So
is that when they're coming?
That will change things.
If aliens come, everything I've said on the show is mute. Everything changes.
I don't know whether it's aliens or robots. Let them have it. I mean, it's not like we've done such a bang up job with the place. I just think that the class consciousness thing, I'm not. I don't know. It's just I don't really see it. I just don't because
even the right is starting to be against billionaires. Like it's weird. Like,
but it doesn't mean anything though, because it's like it reminds me of like with the class consciousness around Luigi Mangione. Everyone, regardless of their left or right, loves Luigi. There's, oh yeah, fuck that guy. But when it comes down, like, they all have the same complaints, but the solutions couldn't be more different, right? It's like where you had like there's tens of millions of right wingers who they would wear a free Luigi shirt, like, yeah, fuck the rich and the class. And then what do you want to do? Well, we should elect Republicans because the problem is that these rich people are, too woke or something. Like, it's I don't really see at least half the country, more than half now apparently, is thinking like this. And then when you get to us, ours is all over the place too. There's folks like us who say, yeah, obviously we need workers to own the means of production. We need, to strip away power from the ruling elites and CEOs and everything. And the right is like, oh no, we just need good CEOs. Or not, I mean, the liberals, like, we need good CEOs. We need real, like, regulations and stuff. I think it's way too splintered. Now, eventually it could happen, but I don't see it happening quickly. Or like, I mean, in the next like 10 years even. I think that it's a long way off because it's easy for people to agree with the problem. Settling on a solution, absent a political leader, I don't think is around the corner. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but that's just what I see.
There needs to be this is going to sound cheesy, okay?
Here we go.
There needs to be another Martin Luther King. There needs to be some kind of big, strong figure. I don't want to be like authoritarian or anything, but like there needs to be another Bernie Sanders. There needs to be something.
Yeah. I agree. I hate that I agree, but I do. I think that without it comes down to it, we, are very like primitive, creatures. Like, we like ourselves a leader and someone who can just get up there. That's why Trump is so effective, is that he appeals to like the shaved ape nature of human beings that, oh yeah, strong man makes me feel good about myself. And, 1,000 voices saying something. Sorry, folks. 1,000 voices saying something with strong conviction is great, but one person leading that 1,000 voices can get a lot more done. It's as someone who loves democracy, I do hate that, but that is the way human beings are, and that's why, like John and I would say all the time, like, I think the moment is past now. But I think if Jon Stewart would have ran for president like this election or last election, it would have been amazing for the country. I think, though, the moment is past. I just think time is gone. My voice is fucking up.
I made a TikTok telling Jon Stewart to run in early 2023, and people just laughed me out of the room. So,
well,
it would work, but he's not. He doesn't want to do it.
He doesn't.
That's the other. If he was the kind of person who would have wanted to do it, he wouldn't have quit the Daily Show to become a farmer. But also, if he was the kind of person who wouldn't have quit the Daily Show to become a farmer, we wouldn't be wanting him to be president right now. It's the fucking catch-22 there. But like, the one thing I would say, TJ, and you're right, like, there needs to be a leader. There's a bunch of things that need to happen. I'm not going to say like, we're going to succeed in a fucking socialist revolution or whatever, but like, in 2016, Luigi Mangione would have never been widely celebrated like he was ever. Like it wouldn't have even been considered that anyone besides the staunchest of weirdos would be celebrating Luigi Mangione.
Yeah,
and now it's fairly commonplace to like just meet someone who does. Like it just. And if you walk in certain circles like I do, like, it's the default assumption that Luigi is the good guy here. So like, that is the progress I'm talking about, of like, this is a different world.
Almost unconscious.
What was that?
Yeah, almost unconscious.
Yeah.
And
is it bad?
Yeah,
right.
That's
but that's my point about eventually you have to pay the bill. Is that like Trump says it himself. He doesn't care about a single election after this one. He doesn't care about the Republican Party. He doesn't care about establishing power after Trump. It's meaningless to him. So like, if you had a fucking leader that cared about cementing his ideology in institutions that will outlive him, that would be very scary. Yeah. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about what happens after he removes himself from the Oval Office. In fact, I don't think he really gives a shit about what happens like
now, right?
Now, he's just like fucking playing with house money now.
Yeah.
But all of these people who expect him to be their savior are going to be sorely disappointed, and they're going to be looking for an answer. And I think that the next 4 years is about preventing him from doing harm and building a solid fucking answer for them to turn to. And that is the path forward.
That's exactly it. And I'm not convinced that's going to happen. That's really what it comes down to.
Fair critique.
Because like, for example, the example I just thought of could mirror this is it would be surprising in, I don't know, to think you talk to someone in 2004 that the Republicans as a whole would hate George W. Bush. Unimaginable. There's like, no, he was a very popular president, and like he would be booed at the RNC, that Republican nominees would shit on him. You couldn't imagine that. That's the world we live in. It's not better. I saw it's like properly identifying the problems that Bush and Cheney are bad. Yeah, the Republicans did that. It hasn't helped us at all. And it's not going. That's what
retort, TJ.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I see.
Yeah, you just smashed me.
Yeah, it's like because I've seen this so many times. It's like, oh, look at this. They're all cheering on against the bad thing. Yeah, but what are they cheering for? And it's just as bad. So until like someone like Rio can come, like if Bernie was 20 years younger, I think he'd be a good candidate for someone that people could rally behind and
Bernie just missed the fucking boat. Like you're so right. Like if he was just born at the wrong fucking time.
He was. But I will say this though, to add some sort of silver lining on this, is that I am pretty down on this a lot because I see it's going to be a slog. But I think you look at pictures of Bernie Sanders in the 1980s in Vermont, and you'll see him holding pro-trans rallies in the fucking 80s, in the Reagan era. If Bernie could make it through that, we can make it through this. Yeah, he did more under worse conditions. So, it might take 30 years, but, I think we can get around it. But I do think it'd be closer to 30 years than 10. Oh, Jesus, 8:42. Man, we went
8:42. Mark is asking if we're still live.
We're still live, yeah.
Which is an odd question to comment on a live stream, I will say, Mark. But yes, we are still live.
With live streams, they last after you're done. Like they're not like they're
true,
they're like there's like a little delay. So yeah, maybe Mark thought
fair, but yes,
he hopped on 20 seconds. Yeah.
We should be wrapping up here.
We should, yeah. I don't got anything else. If anyone else does.
I don't got anything else. All I have to say is if you made it to this point in the video, congratulations. You were probably teased about Joe Biden's legacy, or you heard our thoughts on it, and you probably could have guessed them. It wasn't a very surprising episode of all that we teased, but what was surprising is the excellent moral conversations we had with our wonderful guest, Rio. If you want to hear more from him, Rio, where can people find you?
Just on TikTok, at Nathan Rio. I should have given you guys the little thing, at Nathan Rio on TikTok.
Hey,
I'd say fuck it, we'll fix it in post, but we're not.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. This show used to look a lot slicker. We're like, no, we're posting this shit. But hey, we appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much for your support. We look forward to seeing you in the future, either here on YouTube or on TikTok. We're still around. If not, you can find Rio at least over at Red Note Xiao Hung Shu or whatever in Chinese. We'll catch you, whatever, folks. Later.